So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down THORChain, the decentralized autonomous cross-chain liquidity network, and why you should be paying attention to it. If it's your first time here, my name's Ryan, No Autopilot YouTube channel. I put out daily live streams at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, doing deep dives into some of the top trending tokens. So what is THORChain and why should we care? Make it real simple for you. Imagine Binance or Coinbase, but it's decentralized. There's no risk of having your assets frozen or having them stolen from the centralized exchange. The ability to go ahead and maintain custody throughout the entire process. And being able to take your assets like Bitcoin and go ahead and swap it for something like Terra Luna without having to mess with wrapping it, learning different ecosystems, all those good things. Now, this token in particular, and I think this entire decentralized kind of true core of cryptocurrency, where you don't have like big brother government and big brother banks breaking down every last little transaction, seeing everything about your financial history, is only going to increase in popularity due to some of the geopolitical events that are going on right now. So we covered this already, but in essence, those centralized exchanges are always and for always will be at the permission of the state in which they operate. And they will slowly slide, either quickly or slowly, to the semblance of a bank. And we've seen that with Coinbase. They've testified in front of Congress. They're working actively on regulations that they are going to go ahead and follow, so they can kind of reach a broader audience and be accepted. But there's some bad trade-offs to that too. So this is a tweet that I pulled off of Jesse Powell, member of Kraken. Yes, it is, has, will happen, 100% yes. We'll be forced to comply with nation states. If you're worried about your assets being frozen or your account being blocked, we cannot protect you. Get your coins, cash out, and only trade peer-to-peer. So that's where THORChain comes in. Decentralized. There's no single entity behind this thing. In addition to that, talking about the geopolitical stuff, how about when Canada went ahead and banned around 34 different crypto wallets tied to the Freedom Convoy? Or when Hillary Clinton just recently urged Biden to pressure crypto exchanges to block Russian users. Okay, so there's a lot of intention in trying to control and rein in cryptocurrency. And for the big picture, it's likely good, right? Because you have to have some regulatory compliance in order for crypto to blossom and thrive. But why can't we also have some decentralized tools out there too, if you want to go ahead and subvert all that? Quick pause for comments. In Oblivion Films. Hello from Athens, Greece. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Cool. So we got it. So what type of market cap is this thing chasing? How can it grow? Well, it's in that DeFi space, right? So you got 10,000 million billion, about $142 billion in TVL across that right now. Not TVL, excuse me, market cap. And if we scroll down, THORChain is listed 55th on this list. Now, we touched on it already. One of their biggest competitors is Uniswap. Bouncing back to this real quick. 10,000 million billion, about $6 billion within their protocol right now from a market cap standpoint. THORChain is around 2. Now, I went ahead and I tried to pull up some information on the founding team. This thing is true crypto. Okay, this isn't like your 2022 GameFi project that's launched by game devs that are fully doxed and you know everybody, you know the VC firms behind them, all that. This is an OG project where the mindset was anonymous is intentional and one of the core purposes behind cryptocurrency. And so the founding team behind this thing, I struggled to find any substantial information on any of them, and I'm not holding it against them. I think you have to appreciate it when you're looking at this type of project. Now, I did find Chad Barringford, which is a dev, and he runs one of their YouTube channels and holding AMAs with their devs. So there is some faces out there. And then the other side of that too is when you look at hiring. So I couldn't find any open positions, and it seems like the main way that they're funding development on THORChain is through their treasury. They go ahead, take assets, take funds, and people apply for them. It's voted on, and if it passes, then they're able to build. Cool. So let's take a look and see what they've been able to raise. So way back when, they were able to raise about $4 million in a private token sale. This is actually just on October 5th, 2021. But one of the biggest partnerships that are on the horizon that a lot of folks are excited about, at least in my time in their Discord asking some questions, is their partnership with Terra Luna. Now, if we jump back over here, Terra Luna has been popping in 2021 and 2022. And with this partnership, it's going to allow you, through your Ledger wallet, to go ahead and swap Bitcoin or UST or Luna while you maintain complete self-custody. You don't have to mess with wrapping assets, no IOUs. And the general consensus amongst the community, at least the folks I spoke to, is that they're anticipating a ton of adoption in folks flowing from Bitcoin to UST into the Terra ecosystem. In addition to that, likely there's going to go ahead and be some very, very good returns on the LP pools once Terra goes ahead and gets launched on THORChain. Now, in terms of tokens, so there's kind of a few. The main one you need to pay attention to is RUNE, RUNE. There is a BEP20 RUNE token out there also. That one actually has a runway on it right now that they're going to go ahead and actually sunset it. I think they have a 12-month period that they're running through to try and get that all consolidated. So the main token is RUNE. Now, the uses of it is for governance. Let me back up. If you're a user of the DEX, is governance and paying for fees. If you're a liquidity provider, you have to provide your LP pairs in RUNE. So if you put in $500 of ETH, you also have to go and put in $500 of RUNE. And then as a node operator, they use a proof of bond technology, and they have to maintain the balance of 2 times the value in the assets. So all the different assets in the DEX, they have to maintain 2 times that value in RUNE to go ahead and kind of manage and be able to keep their economic model going forward. Cool. So let's look at max supply. We have 500 million tokens as the max supply, 10,000 million, 330 million in currently circulating supply. Now, they did have a IDO launch. This goes back in July 16th, 2019. They let loose 20 million RUNE tokens, which you could have got for 3 cents. Bet you wish you had a time machine. I do. Vesting schedule. So from that early raise, pre-seed sales, private sales, as well as team and advisors, all those vesting schedules are already in the past. So you don't have to look at that as a potential headwind that a founder is going to have their tokens unlocked and begin to sell and crash the price. From my research, all that vesting is already behind us and no longer a factor in the token's price. Now, one thing that's interesting, so some of those early seed investors, this is actually brand new. This is February 3rd, a month ago. They decided to go ahead and recommit and take some of their original principal from their backing of this project and put it into Thorn node bonds. So in essence, locking more money into the protocol. And I think this is an awesome sign. Okay, put yourself in their shoes. Why would you recommit millions of dollars to a protocol unless you made mint on it? You trust the team, you trust the tech, and you're likely planning on making mint on it again. Not financial advice. Now we look at how this thing compares to Uniswap, which is its main competitor from my research. If it were to go ahead and hit the fully diluted market cap of Uniswap, you're looking at about a 3x. It's worth mentioning that this isn't a period of kind of trepidation in the market, right? If you go back to May or something, then the valuation of both of these assets is going to be quite different. Now, the next thing I like to look at is the social media presence. Really what I'm trying to see here is what the heart is. What's the heart of the THORChain community? And across all the different articles, across Twitter, across their Medium page, it's pumping up on Lunar Crush, which measures social sentiment. Seems to have a little bit of a buzz going on right now due to its price appreciation in the last week. They do have a YouTube channel, and then finally I did jump in the Discord. I would bookend the community section by saying it seems as if they're a highly intelligent group that have been backing this project for a while through thick and thin, because it hasn't always been roses. They've had some pretty bad news last year, but it seems as if it's on the cusp of really being something special. And they're going to be rewarded for sticking around for this thing. Now, when I go ahead and I look at potential pumps or dump triggers for this thing, so we have 66% of the token is in circulating supply right now. If we look at the release schedule, you're going to have to go all the way out to 2026 to have all of the tokens in circulation. So that doesn't mean a ton. It just means that this thing's going to have tokens unlocked and potentially dilute the market. But if everything they put on the roadmap, some of their partnerships, luring in some of that TVL actually happens, this will be a drop in the bucket. It won't even have a major impact. Now we also look at kind of major partnerships, and we touched on this already, but this article's from February 28th, so less than a week ago. Timing for this video seems pretty good. Partnership with Terra Luna, getting that set up. Also, they're looking at partnerships with Haven and Monero integrations. Again, I think that whole conversation around trustless, borderless, frictionless, decentralized exchanges, the ability to move money around is only going to increase in importance. We saw the stuff with Russia. We saw the stuff with Ukraine. We saw the stuff with Canada. We saw the stuff with, U.S. regulators pressuring cryptocurrency exchanges. And to me, this is like core to the soul of what crypto is. Like, I love making money on Coinbase and all that, and I have funds there. But the true core of how crypto started, going back to like the white paper of Bitcoin, comes to this ability to go ahead and have freedom of money. A couple other assets here that they're targeting is 100 active nodes. So nodes are the individuals that are in essence bridging the gap between your swaps. So if you want to swap Bitcoin for Ethereum, there's a node activator there that maintains record of both blockchains, and they're in essence getting those executed for you. Now, I thought this was interesting. This was mentioned in one of their recent treasury reports that currently they're debt-free. I don't know, if most cryptocurrency projects are in debt, but that has to be nice. Has to be nice. What we got in the chat? Ron, RUNE's going crazy at the moment. Yeah, man. That's how I got on my radar. Now we look at what else is on the roadmap. So they do also mention runway. So what a runway is in essence how much money they have and how long it's going to last them if nothing were to change. And as it stands right now, they have 18 months of runway to get this thing off the ground. So if you're investing in this thing, if you're kind of thinking of that midterm period, right? Not a short flip, not a long-term hodl, you probably want to be in alignment with that 18-month schedule. Now, we touched on this already, but they are going to go ahead and they're going to execute a kill switch on those BEP RUNE tokens just because they're kind of floating out there, confusing people. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, not everything has been roses. So THORChain has been hacked a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot, right? Most of these things have like hacks and losses, but they've been hacked a handful of times. So this is back on July 23rd, 2021. They had an 8 million hack. All the users, by the way, were compensated for those losses. But prior to that, they had another $140,000 hack in June, as well as a $5 million hack right behind it. And I think this is one of the main reasons, if you look at their chart, let's go all time, along with the overall market kind of like flopping, I think there's a lot of headwinds associated with getting over that and rebuilding credibility. One thing that's also worth mentioning here, I read it in one of their developer updates that I believe their intention going forward is to not compensate folks if there are exploits. It's going to be part of doing business on THORChain. This thing is supposed to be completely decentralized, and I think if you have a centralized entity behind it, kind of writing checks if people get wrecked, you know, how sustainable is that? So just something to consider. Now we already kind of touched on all the roadmap stuff. So look, I would say bullish scenario. Okay, I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you my bullish scenario, my bearish scenario. Truth is probably somewhere in between. I would say bullish scenario. The risk of centralized exchanges turning into banks is very real, and it's happening. It's absolutely happening. I think if you, sorry, I'm trying to click around here. I think if you fear not having privacy into your financial moves, risk of seizure, risk of loss, I think governments meddling in cryptocurrency exchanges and how they're managed, entities being forced to comply, or in essence be shut down in that area, ongoing geopolitical uncertainty with Russia and Ukraine, I think more and more users are going to be flocking to these true decentralized protocols in the crypto space. Now on the bearish side, they've been working on bridges to these different blockchains for years. And there's not a lot of information on the founders. So you're kind of trusting with your gut that this thing's going to go ahead and be there for the long term. And then as I mentioned, in my understanding and reading through some of their documentation, they're no longer going to be compensating users if there is a hack or an exploit. And then again, there have been a handful of hacks and exploits on this thing. So I would say wrapping it up, THORChain, I love it. I love it a lot. I think it speaks to the true nature of what cryptocurrency is supposed to be. I like that it gives me the ability to maintain a degree of privacy. I think the technology reduces a ton of friction. And because of that, they're going to be able to lock in a ton of value with their bridges with Terra and their other blockchains. And my guess, my guesstimate is if you were to pick this thing up either in the short term, midterm, or long term, you're going to do really well for yourself. Not financial advice, obviously. But there you have it. There's my review of THORChain. There you have it. There's my review of THORChain, the decentralized autonomous cross-chain liquidity network that I think if you're not paying attention to, you should. What'd I miss? What'd you love? What'd you hate? Let me know.